So I don't know if you know, but I'm pretty sure yesterday was the anniversary of the start of the Iraq War, right? And some of our favorite Democrats voted for that war. It said, on this day, Bernie's not a Democrat, on this day, I love when they say that. They go, Bernie's not a Democrat. Thank fucking God he's not a Democrat. Because if he was a Democrat, we would still never hear about single-payer health care. If he was a Democrat, because you're not allowed to talk about that.
What would Bernie say?
What's that?
What would Bernie usually say?
That's why I want you to join me and voting for single payer. That's right, Ted. You're absolutely right. That's my Chuck Schumer, right? This is my Jimmy. Do you have any pussy repellent? Hang on. Pussy repellent, I love you. What's new, pussycat? So this was on this day, 2003, a U.S.-led coalition invaded Iraq. The beginning of Operation Iraqi Freedom. I like how it got 25 likes. There's still 25 people out there like, God damn, I love that war. This was a real Gulf War. Next week was George W. Bush said the goal of his Iraqi invasion was to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger. Turns out the danger was us, right? That's what the danger was. We're going to set the Middle East on fire. During the 105 months of the official war and various operations since, 4,516 Americans were killed as of February 28th, and more than 32,000 have been wounded, thanks to George Bush, who Ellen just took a picture with. Direct spending on the Iraq War has been estimated at $757. That's direct spending. That's not counting, as it says, not including interest on money borrowed to finance it, or veteran health care, which brings it up over $3 trillion. Right? How are you going to pay for free college? How are you going to pay for it? And the reason why I bring this up, A, because it was the anniversary, and now, Wes, you're a veteran, so I want to come to you in a second. I follow Adam Johnson, who's a great journalist, and he said this. He goes, on the 14th anniversary of the Iraq War, remember not just how the media sold it, but how fucking smug they were doing so. And he links to the Washington Post. And here's the Washington Post. This is their editorial. This is not an outside editorial. This is their editorial board. And if you read the highlighted part, it says, it is hard to imagine how anyone could doubt that Iraq possesses weapons of mass destruction. That's the Washington fucking Post. And they have the balls to say somebody else's fake news. That's the Washington Post. That's the smartest guys in the world. I knew that was bullshit when it happened. You knew it was bullshit when it happened. Graham knew it was bullshit when it happened. Because we fucking protested in the world's biggest protest in history. You know who got it wrong? The smartest guys in the world. Washington Post. Oh my God, the same motherfuckers. Oh my God, that's right. They got it wrong. Wes, how did you feel about the Washington Post endorsing that war?
Well, I mean, I didn't go back into the Army because I got a heads up that wasn't a critical war we needed to fight.
You got a heads up?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Do you know somebody in the military?
Yeah, I did. No, I just finished all my reserve duty and active duty, because every time you sign up, it's 8 years. And
it's 8 years?
Yeah,
I thought it was 4 years.
Oh no, it's just 3 years. No, they own you for 8 years. You're only active duty for a certain amount of time, but then they can call you back up at any moment. So
no kidding.
I was out for good, August 2001. And then I lived in New York City.
No
shit!
Saw
it happen, and I was like, I'm going back! And my dad's like, don't do that. You're not going to go to Afghanistan. They're going to use you to do all this other stuff. You'll be bitter. You'll have killed people for no reason. It's going to fuck you up. Don't go back in. And I was like, okay. So, yeah.
Wow, that sounds like real leadership. That does. That sounds like fucking bold leadership.
We
man.
played the video of your father on this show in this exact room when he talked about how when he went to the Pentagon after 9/11 and they had a plan to invade Iraq and he said, "Why are we going?" I don't know. That's what we do.
I mean, look, it's not like it's not something you just want to jump into. I mean, everybody knew that war was fucked up from the start. Everybody knew Iraq didn't attack us. I mean, at least all the leadership. I mean, they all knew this. It wasn't a mystery. I used to consult with a bunch of other screenwriters for a certain organization that has the word Central in it. Right before this, for 4 or 5 months, after 9/11, a friend of mine got me into it. He's like, "Hey, you can be part of saving America." And we met the head of anti-terrorism operations, and we're like, what you should really do to cut down on terrorism is not push to go to Iraq. And here's what he said, for all those people who think there's a deep state, he said, "I know that, you know that, everyone in this room knows that, but we've got orders, and we have to do it." So, I mean, it's also because a lot of these guys had a fantasy that somehow it was going to be really easy to go to this other part of the world and somehow take it over really quick, and everyone's going to want to be just like us.
Wasn't there a general that a year or two prior to 9/11 was saying that for us to even go into Iraq, it would take a minimum of 500,000 troops on the ground to even make it, because of the sectarian violence and how divided the country was and everything?
Yeah, but even then, I mean, we've got this weird reluctance on the military to fix stuff. I mean, and what you see happen in other parts of the world is the military takes over in a coup or something, and then the general marches around, and there's some parades, and he looks tough, and he holds up a gun and brandishes a sword maybe, but he's not fixing potholes. And, people aren't getting their pensions, and he doesn't know shit about business. And so then the economy starts to fall apart. I mean, military guys are great at killing things. They're not so great at building societies.
That's
reality.
Weird. That's weird. I didn't know that. So just to go back to the war, thank you, Wes, for bringing that info. It says it's hard to imagine how anyone could doubt that Iraq possesses weapons of mass destruction. It's hard to imagine. So we went to Iraq because the editorial team at the Washington Post lacked imagination. It's hard to imagine how anyone could doubt. Really? It's hard to imagine that a fucking government would bullshit you? That a fucking country that doesn't even have a... Anyway, Mr. Powell left no room to argue seriously that Iraq has accepted the Security Council's offer of a final opportunity to disarm, and he offered a powerful new case that Saddam Hussein's regime is cooperating with a branch of the Al-Qaeda organization that is trying to acquire chemical weapons and stage attacks in Europe. So the whole time, but they're pissed off about fake news. They're upset, and that's all. So Washington Post can go suck it. They have a $600 million deal with the CIA, so you can't believe anything that they write about the CIA in the Washington Post. So you can't believe anything they write. In fact, the only thing I believe in the Washington Post that they write that is true is the nice things about me. I don't know how they fucking nail it, but they nail it. They know exactly what I'm about, and they get it. I love them.